So I am super excited to be making this video. God is kind of amazing because after the initial video where it was kind of choppy and there was a lot of ums, which there still might be a lot of ums because that's just kind of how it works for me, but when I made the first video, I wasn't sure how the second one was going to end up being because, as I said in the first one, I wait until God kind of gives me direction on what he wants me to do. So I actually had prayed for a couple days after the first video was made, and I'm like, if you have any messages or anything like that you want me to share, I'm all ears. Just let me know. And for a couple days, I got nothing. So I'm like, maybe this is going to be like a once a month thing. I don't know. But as it turns out, I'm super excited to share this video with you because two different ideas were revealed to me, and I now get the opportunity and privilege to share them with you. So unfortunately, I don't have as much time today as I normally do to make videos because God has me doing a couple different tasks today, the video being one and something else being the other. So I got to try to fit everything into a certain amount of time this morning, but that's all right. He always provides, so I'm not worried about it at all. I'm sure he'll give me plenty of time to say everything that he wants me to say here. So I'm just going to jump right into it. The first thing is sort of a message. The second thing, which actually the second thing was the first thing that he revealed to me, but in doing this video, I had the strong feeling like he wanted me to make the second thing the first thing I actually talked about. So we'll just switch it around a little bit. The first thing is sort of a really important message that was brought to my attention, and even though one particular thing was the inspiration for it, it kind of actually covers many things. It's like an umbrella thing. So basically what happened is I don't know if it was last night or the night before that, my family and I were watching a movie, and in the movie it was a story about two teenage girls who were meeting some of their family members for the first time. It was a Christmas-based movie. And in one of the lines, one of the young girls referred to her mother as living in a, was it mother? Grandmother, sorry, grandmother. Her grandmother was living in what she referred to as a trailer park, and said, not that I'm judging her, my dad and I aren't doing much better off than she is. And I cringed, because I'm like, first of all, I know many people, not only from my past, but also from my present. Oh, sorry. I have pets, and I'm trying to keep them off the computer while I'm doing this. If you ever hear me pause, that's the only reason why. I'm trying to keep them out. Anyway, I heard her refer to that, and I'm like, I know people from both my past and my present that have lived in mobile homes. And, the thing is years and years ago, they actually used actual trailers. They were called trailers because they converted trailers into places where you could actually live. They converted them to living spaces. So back then, that's what they were referred to as. But, there's always such, and I realized it's not just, quote, mobile homes that have this, for some reason, horrible reputation. I don't know what the deal is. So many times I've heard people say, they'll be given directions and they're like, go half a mile up the road. Yeah, that trailer park is on the side. If you pass that, and they sound so negative towards it, or, yeah, they live in a trailer park, but they really are nice people. Like, where you live makes it or breaks it on whether you're a nice person. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but I've known plenty of people that have lived in mobile homes, and they're hardworking citizens. They're, they work hard for everything they have, just the same as many people who are financially, in a higher so-called bracket than they are. And I'm like, I don't understand this. But the whole thing with the mobile home park led me to realize, wait a minute, we actually place a lot of our decisions on who we become friends with, who we want to date, who we want to associate with, on their financial standing in life. Even as people of faith, we do this. And so many times it's like a negative thing that, towards it. Like, well, yeah, they're, like, for example, they might say, well, yeah, they clean houses for a living, but they're nice people. as though it's like a bad thing. And I'm like, so I just was feeling really upset about it because I'm like, why do we do this? Even people that are in what society refers to as low income, even people in that category do the same thing with each other. Well, yeah, they live like that, but at least we have this. And it's like, even there's even competition, so to speak, in low income groups just as much as there are in quote wealthier groups. And I'm like, this is really kind of messed up. It really is kind of messed up. So I guess, when I started thinking about it, I didn't pray to God directly about my, upset about this, but even sometimes when you're just thinking things through and trying to work through, something that upsets you or a problem or whatever, I think God kind of uses just your personal thinking almost, turns into like a prayer sort of situation. So, it was kind of funny because this morning the whole idea for this video was I was going to mention to you what is now going to be the second thing I'm talking about in a minute. That was what the whole thing with this video was going to be, was talking about just that. And then this morning, this conversation that I'm having right now came into mind because I was just going to put it on my personal Facebook page, my feelings about this. And then all of a sudden it was like an epiphany. I'm like, oh, yeah, make a video out of it. I think God wants me to do this. So it was just like this weird feeling that washed over me, like, don't just make it a personal thing. Put it out there so everyone needs to know this message. So here I am. That's what I'm doing. So anyway, I basically just wanted to say, as you're going through your everyday life and stuff, just, there's always a group. Oh, there's always, to me, there's groups. I'm starting to get off track a little bit here. Let me get back. There's groups. There's the ones, it's always black and white, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's either you're rich or you're poor. There's like no in between. And I'm thinking, although God blesses all of us in different ways, and yes, in some ways it is financial blessings, whether it's you were blessed with the ability to go to a top school, get a great education, and get a top job, and you're able to afford all the things that material-wise make you happy, whether you were born into it and never had to work in a day in your life and were blessed with all these things, or whether you have worked all your life and maybe can't afford what others can afford, but you've still been blessed in the way God blesses you. To me, it makes no difference. You got to remember something. All these material things that we cling to and think are so important and you can't live without them. Guess what? You can't take any of that when you go. When you finally leave this life, none of that matters to God. None of it. If it did, don't you think you'd be able to take it with you when you went to meet him? None of it matters. So my feeling is, and this is not, I think this is mainly to me directed to the group that is financially very wealthy and yet kind of seems to think that people that are anything less than their bracket is beneath them. What I'm trying to do is not judge you, but give you a little food for thought. Especially during this time of year, people are doing the best that they can. And for all of us, I think, and when I say directed to, I don't mean like this is a message personally for you. I didn't mean it like that. What I'm trying to say is that group of people is what inspired this thinking. I'm like, because in that movie I saw, the family that was quote wealthy versus the family that was quote poor, the wife in the wealthy family was very snooty, very much, she actually called the other family trailer trash. And I'm like, this isn't okay, even though this was just a movie, real life, that's what happens. And I'm like, this is very wrong and not right. Even as people of faith, we do this. I've actually literally heard people of faith saying, yeah, they live here, they live there, but they're really nice people. And I'm like, ooh, that just bugs me so bad. Where you live doesn't mean you're a nice or bad person. I have met some people that have probably the best of everything, financially speaking. They have good jobs, they live comfortable lives, and I'm not talking about movie star type, someone that makes trillions of dollars. I don't mean that. I mean somebody that is, you know, a little bit more down to earth financially speaking, but is probably able to, like, you know, somebody that is living in a one bedroom apartment might not have the ability to just go run out and buy, you know, the top TV on the market or the top phone on the market. That might be something that they have to save up for or could never afford it at all anyway. Versus somebody that might, you know, be living in, you know, a 2-floor house, you know, an upstairs and a downstairs, you know, have, you know, whether top of the line or one step down from top of the line cars, you know, someone like that can probably go right out and say, hey, there's a new TV out or there's a new device out that I want, and go right out and buy it. They don't even have to blink. They've got the money. They just do it. You know, but I've got to say, I have met people that are in the more wealthy side that are so nice. You know, they would do anything for you, regardless of your financial situation, whether you're rich, poor, or in between, it doesn't matter. They share what they were blessed with. You know, they'd be right there for you. But I've also met people in that same, quote, you know, financial bracket who are selfish, nasty. They promote hate and hating people that are different from them. I've seen the same thing in people that are lower income, that, you know, they're the nicest people you'd ever want to meet, even though they might not have as much as the more wealthy people. What they do have, they give as much to others as possible. They, you know, give up their time and talents. You know, they're people that are highly respected in their communities, everything. But I've also, again, in that same token, have seen that same, you know, lower income group who, just like the wealthy person, is nasty. The little bit that they do might have, or not little bit, but you know what I mean. You know, I'm saying little bit compared to, I'm saying wealthy. I'm going by wealthy versus low income is what I'm trying to say. What they do have, it might not be as much as the wealthier person, but they're selfish about it. They don't want to share anything. It's like, I work my rear end off. I'm keeping the little bit I have. And I've actually heard people, that's why I said little bit, because I've actually heard people like that say little bit. I'm not a wealthy person by any means, so believe me, I'm not putting down middle to lower income people. I'm not somebody that, you know, is living in a mansion by any means. So, but I'm grateful for what I have, so I'm not putting it down either. But I'm just trying to make a point that nasty people are in all categories, just as kind, decent, contributing people are in all categories. So I guess what the message for this is simply, you know, try to see the person, not, you know, see the person within, not the person on the outside. You know, I think the way I look at it is, I don't think it matters to God what you had when you were alive. It's what you did with your talents while you were here, you know. So that was the first thing I wanted to discuss. I'm probably forgetting a couple of important details. If I have and I remember them before I upload this, I will put it in the description section of the video. So make sure after you hear this video, you take a little peek in the description just to make sure I didn't write a couple extra points that I wanted to say and forgot. Like I said, God's got me doing a few tasks for him today, so I'm trying to remember everything he wants. But that was basically the first thing. Just don't judge, I guess. Roundabout way of saying don't judge. You know, just take people for who they are. Get to know the person inside versus the person outside. I mean, so many people, I think, would end up being best friends, spouses, whatever, if it was just a matter of looking beyond the physical and the material part of who they are and look at what was inside instead. So that's the first thing. The other thing I'm kind of excited about, we're kind of staying on the topic of being kind to one another, is some of you may have been part of the community. I mean, we're all part of the faith community, but some of you may have been part of this Page's faith community back during Easter time when it was the Easter Acts of Kindness Challenge. I believe that's what we refer to it as. It was basically from the first day, and I'm trying to remember, I think it might have been, I think Easter fell in April this year. Might have been May, but I think it was April. Every once in a while it falls late or early or whatever. But anyway, whatever the month was, I had said that, the Easter Acts of Kindness Challenge was going to start on the first day of whatever the month was that Easter fell in. And the whole idea was that you could either, what am I trying to say? You could either do anonymous acts of kindness to people, or you could post your acts of kindness on the page. A few people, initially, a few people got a little bit uncomfortable with that idea and thought that wasn't a good idea, because they were, like, they made the point, acts of kindness aren't supposed to be broadcast so that you can get a pat on the back for it. The whole point of act of kindness is that you're not going to get thanked, and it's not something that's ever going to be repaid. That's why it's a kindness. And so I tried to explain it wasn't for that purpose. I wasn't trying to say post it so you can get a pat on the back. My thought was, some people, when they hear an idea, they think, oh, that's an awesome idea, I love it, but they go completely blank on, okay, it's a good idea, but I don't have any idea what I can do for this idea. Like, what's an act of kindness? Is it a grand gesture or a simple gesture? So my thought, even though I kind of shared it poorly, I think, was that those who felt comfortable with sharing what their act of kindness was, they didn't have to say who the act of kindness was towards or anything, but I figured if some people could share a few things, it might be a way, almost like giving a tip. If somebody else is on the thing saying, oh, I'd like to do it, but I don't know what I can do. If somebody else posted a thing saying, today I was in the checkout line at the grocery store, and the person in front of me was checking out, but they were like $5 short on, what they had so they could pay for their food. So, I gave them an extra $5 so they could pay for it without feeling embarrassed. Something like that. That's not a grand gesture, but it sure means something to the person you helped. Or, maybe you went through the car wash and you decided, you know what, you're going to leave enough quarters there to cover one wash for the next person that comes along, and not leave your name or anything, just leave the quarters there, and then the next person that comes in the bay to wash their car is like, oh wow, somebody left their quarters here, I get a free car wash. Just little gestures like that, or simply, your neighbor's going to be out of town for, the weekend, so maybe on Sunday afternoon, before they're going to arrive, have a card with like a gift certificate in there. Don't sign the card or anything, just, or just put like Secret Santa or something, and have a gift card in there. Like, if it's like a couple living next door, do a gift card for, 2 free entrees at a local restaurant or something, and put it in the card, and then put it right on the door. When they come home, they're not going to know it was you because they weren't home to see you do it. But when they come home, it'll be a surprise, like, oh wow, while we were gone, somebody left us a little gift. Just things like that. That's what my idea was, just doing little things. And if you want to do something big, that was fine too, But I'm like, on the whole, I don't think it's as common for people to go huge, huge. I mean, it has happened. I'm not saying it hasn't, but so that was the idea with the Easter act of kindness. So I was actually, again, I was watching, the TV was on in the other room, and I happened to come out to get something out of the kitchen, and they were advertising, I think it was, I don't know if it was a recent movie or an old movie on Hallmark, and I think it was called 12 Days of Christmas, but I'm not sure. But it didn't even matter. All I remember thinking when I heard it, I thought, oh, 12 Days of Christmas, and I'm like, that reminds me of the Easter challenge we did. Then all of a sudden it hit me, oh, how about 12 days of acts of kindness for Christmas? I mean, especially in this world today, with all the violence, especially heightened violence now, the heightened level of violence, the crime, just all the negative out there in general, terrorism, both homegrown and overseas, and just everything. And also with all the natural disasters and so many people that are homeless and everything, at least temporarily, until places can rebuild and stuff like that, and homes are safe to, go back to and stuff. I thought, wouldn't it be nice, if we could do at least 12 days. I mean, if you could do the whole month of December, go right ahead. This is only the 3rd, so go right ahead. But I thought, wouldn't it be nice if you could at least do 12 days where every day the general idea is at least one act of kindness for the 12 days. But Hang on one second. I think the heat is coming on and I don't want this to disturb this. One second. Okay, so anyway, as I was saying, I thought, wouldn't it be nice if at least for 12 days out of this month, we could all work on doing at least one act of kindness a day. If you wanted to do more than one, that's even better. But at least to have a goal that one act of kindness a day, at least for 12 days. So, I don't normally, to be honest with you, I never understood whether that song 12 Days of Christmas was counting Christmas Day itself or not. But since Christmas Day is kind of like the main event day, so to speak, I figured the 12th day should actually include Christmas Day itself. So you figure if you make Christmas Day the 12th day, go back until you get to the first, and whatever day the number one would be, that would be the first day you'd start, doing the acts of kindness. And like I said, if you want to do it even before, that's fine too. So I wanted to make sure I shared this idea now, though, because I wanted to make sure people had plenty of time to have a chance to actually listen to this video and be like, oh, that's, hopefully that's a good idea. Let me do that. So that's the challenge. And not that it should really be that big of a challenge, actually, but just so, for wording purposes. And again, I'm going to say the same thing as I did with Easter. For those that are comfortable sharing maybe one or two of their acts of kindnesses, again, not for a pat on the back, not for any kind of recognition. I mean, sorry about that. The goal of this is not to have a bunch of us saying, oh, that was so nice of you, you're such a wonderful person, blah, blah, blah. Not that. It's, I don't even necessarily expect that anybody should be commenting on anybody's acts of kindness. That isn't what it's about, and people are right. But for those that do decide to share, you're sharing of your acts of kindness. You don't have to share every single one of them, even if you only do one or two, for those that want to, I'm saying. Like I said, it's for the purpose of inspiring others that, first of all, yeah, you won't be alone in it, because obviously if people are posting what they're doing, people are actually actively doing this, so you can do it too. It might actually inspire others to join in and get involved, which is, I guess, what I was trying to say with the Easter challenge, but did so poorly, as I said. And the other thing is, like I said, in case somebody, like I remember having someone say to me, years ago that, and I'm saying years ago because I don't want a recent situation to have anyone think that I'm referring to a recent situation about this. But years ago, somebody was collecting cards for a group of people that basically could really use a little bit of inspiration and having people know that they cared about them. So I was like all set. I'm like, I want to write out these cards and stuff and, send it. But I'm like, I don't even know what to write. I don't know these people or anything. I want to do something nice for them, but I don't know them enough to know, what's of interest to them, what they can relate to, whatever. So I kind of ended up not doing a whole lot of the cards because I just didn't know what to write. I just basically put like Merry Christmas and sent it off. So I tend to think that when other people share their ideas, sometimes someone else who might be struggling to figure out, well, what can I do? What would be a good idea for me to do? Might see something. And my feeling is, even if somebody copies your idea, who cares? If you're doing something kind to somebody and someone else copies it, then they're just copying another act of kindness. How bad is that? So, anyway, that was my idea. Well, not my idea, God's idea that he wanted me to share with you. Sorry. But, started out with the idea in my head. That's, I guess, what I'm trying to say. So, anyway, that's my hope, is that people hear this and think that, it's an idea worth doing. And like I said, nobody's required to put up photos or talk about their acts of kindness. It's totally up to you. Like I said, my whole idea was figuring if people see that a few people are doing it, it might inspire other people to say, well, if they're doing it, I can too. It's not like I'm alone in this. It seems like when more people, a lot of people don't want to be the first one to do it, I guess is what I'm saying. They don't want to be the first one to show up at something. If somebody else is already there, then they don't feel so uncomfortable. So that was my idea with sharing. Get other people involved so they don't feel like they're doing it alone. And for those that can't really come up with an idea to do, something that you're doing might inspire them, and they might think, oh, hey, I can do that. That doesn't look too hard. And then before you know it, we've got a whole group of acts of kindness going on. So anyway, that is my goal. I am going to close now, though, because my other task is about to start, and task is not really the right word for it, but it's going to have to apply for right now. So I wish you all the best, and a very happy, healthy, and safe Sunday. I thank you all for listening, and hopefully I didn't offend anybody with anything I said in this video at any point, because that was not my intention. I don't always find the best choices of words when it's like a in the moment thing, but I do my very best. And like I said, just as I always say, spread some kindness out there. The world needs more of it. So God bless, peace, and hopefully soon I will see some awesome responses. Bye.